Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to another Saturday hashtag WeAreMovieClub Hangout. I am Kamurai.
And I'm Charlie. Hello, everybody.
How are you doing? We can't hear you, but you can type in the comments and such and things
What?
and let us know.
I haven't got... What? Have
What?
I got audio issues?
I can hear you fine.
That's okay then. Sorry, I thought you meant I had audio issues then. I was thinking...
No. I was saying to the audience. 'Cause
Oh,
occasionally someone besides us watches this.
oh, right, for the one viewer we have. Okay, yeah.
That happens.
Yeah, it has been known to have a viewer on every occasion.
Forgot
No,
to
it's
put it
going
away
well.
early.
Everything is good.
But what do we do here, Charlie?
We generally talk about stuff that just generally happens in the world and usually just random shite, and then eventually we get around to talking about films.
Well, things are relative, and we do live on the internet somewhat, so occasionally we have like news like YouTube and stuff, but we haven't had anything like that in a little bit.
No, we haven't actually, but I'm sure something will crop up. They have actually. Let's start on you.
Do we have news? And we lost Charlie.
Yeah, that was my fault. I went to change tab to go and show you the news that I was on about, and I ended up closing the window.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were just telling me some news. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and start with that? Because it is very interesting.
Yeah, I discovered that they've finally confirmed a Deadpool movie.
Oh, that news.
Yeah, that news. Which, while Deadpool is quite new to me as a concept, I really like the idea of it.
It's kind of like Wolverine, but like if he was a real ninja and a smartass beyond Spider-Man's capabilities.
I think the fact he's a bit of a smart ass is what attracts me to the concept of Deadpool. I think from the teaser, that sort of teaser test footage that came out ages ago, I think it has the potential to be a very, very good film.
Well, and I hope they bring Ryan Reynolds back for the role because he was perfect.
I don't think there's any word on that yet, but it'd be good if it was.
Well, because they just wrote him out of it. Like, I don't know what happened there. Like, maybe he didn't want to suck somebody's dick, but you saw him in the beginning before he became the Weapon X project in Wolverine Origins, and it's perfect. He's like, check these babies out. You whip these out at your sister's wedding, people are going to talk about it.
that's the kind of humor I can get behind.
Yeah, and that's what he is over and over and over again, and like it's in a very refreshing sense. And that's what a lot of people who aren't Deadpool fans say. It's like, well, the jokes are old after 5 minutes, right? No.
Nope.
Really
Nope.
But I was talking about the Anaconda news you were sharing with me.
Ah, yes, of course. Let's get back to that. Anna Arcana, who you may remember from the Riley Rewind review we did, God, however long ago that was back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, she's a YouTuber in her own right, too. She's not just Ray William Johnson's girlfriend.
Yeah, she does have other things, but yeah, her new short film, Here She is supposed to come out a week tomorrow, apparently, so in a couple of weeks we may be able to give that a bit of attention.
Now, is that in theater? Is that on disc? What?
Doesn't say. Just says it's released on the 28th.
You know what? And like, despite like my lack of theater going, because if Guardians of the Galaxy didn't get me out, Tusk probably won't. But Kevin Smith's new movie Tusk is out.
Oh, that's out now, is it?
Yeah, and I'm really excited about that because I want to see, after watching him do Red State, I really want to see what he does with horror.
Mm.
And the story itself is really interesting. I think I've shared this on the podcast before when Mark was here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've definitely mentioned it in the past, yeah.
Yeah, so the short version is that he was on a podcast with Scott Mosier. They were talking about this story that he ran across where this guy who had been shipwrecked on an island like for a while, his only friend for a long time was this walrus that would come up, sit on the shore with him, and he'd talk to the walrus, and the walrus would hang out, and then he'd leave. and come back the next day. So the premise is that the guy hired somebody to put on a walrus suit for like 2 hours a day or something and hang out with him as a walrus.
We've all been there. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so like as you do, and then so Kevin Smith like was joking about it being a horror story. Like, what if you wanted him to be the walrus permanently? And that's what this movie is. What I'm super excited about it is that it didn't just stop at like one movie idea. Now it's delayed Clerks 3 from coming out again, but he's created another trilogy with Tusk being the first part of it. Which is kind of weird because it's not like a consecutive story. It's 3 stories in the same universe in chronological order.
Right, okay.
Is that still a trilogy, or is that just a universe?
Well, I don't know. It's almost like a mini trilogy, isn't it?
I don't know. I would say they're related stories. I wouldn't call them a trilogy per se.
Yeah. I'm not sure what to what way to interpret that.
Yeah, my brain's locking up on ideas. Oh, I did find something that's kind of YouTubey and kind of relevant to what I've got a project I want to try coming up. It's actually related to our bad summaries because that's technically machinima.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, Minecraft's not a very detailed platform, but there's a show called Seedlings that's apparently kind of big, and that's machinima through Minecraft that is based on the NPC, like this NPC village.
Okay.
And then they finally get discovered by players. So, like, some dick player shows up and starts, like, killing people and burning stuff down, and they have to deal with him. I made it sound like a serial killer movie, and it's more of a comedy. But
yeah, they just sound a bit darker, but yeah, carry on.
Well, so there's 2 guys that live together, and like they burn down their house. So they try to stay at the professor's house, but they end up setting off an experiment. It explodes. They end up staying at the temple, and then they get their bartender friend. They get her to help them rebuild their house. And while they're out cutting down wood, one of the players shows up, starts shooting arrows at them, and they don't know what it is. And then they run away, and then they go to the library, and he kills the librarian and starts burning it down. And then one of the NPCs pushes him into the lava, and he dies.
Okay.
And that's as far as I got, because I was like, I want to give this the attention it deserves, and I couldn't at the time.
I'm pretty decent.
I didn't think there were a lot of machinimas out there for Minecraft.
It's a bit of a difficult one because of, like you say, it's not the most detailed of engines that you can use, and that you can only do so much with it.
Go ahead.
It's not like Halo where you can, it's a lot more detailed and fluid whether you're using mocap or not.
Well, and I agree with you there, but there's not a lot of good Halo machinimas out there either. I think like Waiting for Party or Waiting for Lobby or something was okay, but other than that, I haven't found another one besides Red vs. Blue.
As though you want to find another one. There will be no other.
Well, it was such an ingenious idea. I was like, other people have to be doing this, and they are, but I don't
just
care.
Not as good.
I'm not even saying it's bad. It's just it didn't grab me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Red vs. Blue had me like guffawing for an hour repeatedly.
Should we use that as a segue to go into Season 10 discussion?
We can. Do we want to run through what we watched first, though?
Well, that was... Yeah, well, whichever.
We couldn't ask for a better segue, but let's just throw it on the ground and stomp on it.
Yeah. We set ourselves up and then miss.
No, it's fine. It's what we typically do. We just started with news, which we normally don't. We haven't had a lot of news in a while. it's always different when we have stuff, in particular things we want to talk about. But I've been on a kind of a comedy streak this week, so maybe.
You've been on a bit of a comedy binge, have you, son?
Yeah, because I don't know, I just need to pick me up. Because normally I watch darker, more serious stuff, but I just wanted some laughs.
Feel free to go for it.
I started with Flubber, which I don't think takes a lot of color past that.
So you're coming down to my level then?
A little bit. That is not one of his better movies.
It's not, but I don't think there's such thing as a bad Robin Williams film.
That rides the fence at least. Because it's not a good one, but I wouldn't call it a bad one either.
No.
And I won a Weibo. Thought that was cool. I forgot that was part of the movie. For anyone who's not familiar, there's a little floating robot that has like this great personality, and she's essentially in love with the professor, though the professor's supposed to be getting married to this other girl, and Weibo controls the schedule, so he misses his wedding repeatedly. But I went from that to School of Rock.
Oh, I have not seen that in a while.
Jack Black as a loser musician, and then he fakes being a substitute teacher and trains these kids for battles of the band. Fair enough?
It's a great little concept. I thought it was a really good film.
It is, but like he's not a redeemable character. Like as much as he's still funny and the kids are great, he's kind of a monster.
It's the kind of role that you just assume Jack Black's going to be, which is just generally fuck about.
Yeah, he's a fuck about. He's not trying. He didn't earn anything. He's like, even if they had one Battle of the Bands, like he's leeching off these kids' talent. He's manipulating them throughout the entire movie. Like, I could sit here and ruin it, but I don't want to do that anymore.
Quick segue. Your opinion on Kung Fu Panda? Just while I'm thinking of Jack Black stuff.
My first thought, honestly, was that I liked Tigress. It's not a for me. Like DreamWorks has really weird hit and miss stuff with me. It's beautiful. It's really well done. They had very interesting stylizations, but mixing all those characters and the styles that they do, and creating that world kind of weirds me out. But it reminds me of like a broken Naruto. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I know what Naruto is, but I just haven't really invested much in it.
Yeah. For anyone who's unaware, the quick version is that Naruto is a anime about a ninja high school in its own world where like ninjas have magical powers, not necessarily just being ninjas. So like it's that training aspect, and then like being able to have special abilities based on who you are. Yeah, which is really the basis of the movie, because each animal had their own style of fighting. It's just interesting to think, like if you go backwards from all these creations, they all lead back to like ancient kung fu, and so like it probably leads back to like 5 old guys that just made shit up.
Yeah, probably thinking at the time this isn't going to go anywhere.
Like, well, no, because they studied martial arts, they fought each other, they trained, and they determined the best way to go about hitting each other. Sorry, just busting through this real quick because there's not much to say on a lot of these. Hot Rod.
Which one's Hot Rod?
I think it's Jesse Eisenberg. That doesn't sound right.
Hot Rod.
No. It's the one where he idolizes, or he's a amateur stuntman. It's got Isla Fisher in it, and I
Yes,
forgot
it
his name.
is. It is
But,
Jesse Eisenberg.
oh, it is. Okay.
No, wait, hang on.
It's
No,
not
it's not.
him. No,
No, it's not. It's Andy Samberg. Sorry.
there you go.
Christ, they look very similar.
They do, except one's very serious looking.
And there's a very tenuous link in that film. Sissy Spacek, who did the original Carrie.
Oh yeah, she did an excellent job in that movie. It's always worth saying.
Oh yes.
But it's really like Adam Sandberg humor for the whole movie, and some of it's just over the top. But I like how Isla Fisher gets into it. The other supporting actors are all really good. And I always forget his name, the tall guy with the throaty voice from Arrested Development.
Um,
He plays kind of the dick boyfriend of Isla Fisher's character.
I don't know.
I could look him up, but I just always forget his name. It's the cycle. So moving on, Without a Paddle, Seth Green and Matthew Lillard, and then there's the other guy's kind of funny, but
I don't think I've seen that one.
watch it for one reason, if nothing else. Seth Green gets picked up by a bear and carried like a baby.
It's weird because you're very much in my line of thinking with this week's sort of stuff that you've been watching, and I haven't seen a few of these. That's not even a long film. I could actually watch that.
Yeah, I would say everything on this, well, most everything on this list, Charlie, I could see you watching.
Yeah.
With Saving Silverman is kind of stupid humor. Like, it's pretty bad. But like Amanda Peet's in it. Jack Black's in it. The guy from, I always forget that guy's name. He's a little squirrely looking guy, but he gets like the lead roles in these movies, and I just don't know if he's a strong enough lead. Especially when they put someone who's a little bit more high power next to him. Like Amanda Peet, I would say, is too high powered to do that. And the guy from American Pie, Jason Biggs, is in there.
Oh right, yeah.
He's Silverman. It's who they're trying to save from the psycho girlfriend. And the chick he actually ends up with is cute. I've seen her in a couple other things too. She's worth the watch. My Girlfriend's Boyfriend. It's an Alyssa Milano film. A little bit more serious, but interesting concept. It's she never dates, and then she finds two great guys on the same day, one of which happens to be a writer who is looking for real fantasies to write about.
Mm-hmm.
And so she gets really torn between the two guys, and she ends up picking the one guy. Spoil the movie, spoilers. He ends up being an actor or someone he wrote, a character the other guy wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually that she ends up picking him, and the whole reason she went to the other guy in the first place was that honestly she was scared of committing and going through with everything she wanted from the first guy anyways. So she took the easy way out. I would say put it on your don't watch list. There is a show or anime called, I skipped, I'm sorry. My Fake Fiance. You remember I was telling you about Melissa Joan Hart?
Yes.
Well, she was in a show called Melissa and Joey with this guy. I'm forgetting his name now. I think it's Justin Armstrong, maybe. Well, there's essentially a movie that's that show without all the context.
Okay.
And that's My Fake Fiance. They decide to fake a wedding to get all the gifts and money from it. Because he's got debts and she got robbed. I don't know. It's weird. Beauty and the Briefcase, I would say don't watch. I got 28 minutes in. Hilary Duff delivers some line, and I just turned it off. I was like, no, I can't. Your friends are cute, but no. Fate Zero. Oh my god. You know those convoluted animes that you run across?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those where I'm just like, why are we putting worms in people? And it's all about like this magical battle that happens like every 60 years or something, and did not grab me. I watched one episode, it ended, and I was like, oh, I'm still watching that. Well, we're gonna stop.
Yeah, I'm still watching this shit.
Yeah, I didn't realize I kept watching to the end of the episode, so.
How long were the episodes?
I think that one was an hour.
Okay.
So, like, I just zoned it out, and I was like, oh, it's over. Oh, shit, I was still watching it. And then I got all nostalgic for whatever reason, and something, this is going to sound probably bad in some way or shape or form, but so occasionally, like, I think, you roll back in your head, you think about when you were younger, and for whatever reason, like, girls are a thing that's in my head, especially for when I was younger, and I was like, and especially with Melissa Joan Hart, because, like, Clarissa Explains All was big in my childhood. I was like, oh, who's another chick that, like, I used to have a crush on when we were both younger? And Columbine Jacobson came to mind, which I guarantee you have no idea who that is.
Yep.
She was the goalie from Mighty Ducks.
Right.
You don't know what Mighty Ducks is?
Well, hang on. No, that does sound a bit. Just sound a bit familiar.
If you don't know offhand, it's fine. It was a trilogy of bad hockey movies. The first one was about a guy who I think he made it to the minors, or he had a shot at the minors, and he became a lawyer, and then he had a breakdown from being a lawyer, so to do community service, he went and coached a Pee Wee hockey team in L.A.
Oh, right, yeah.
Or in Anaheim, and which turned into the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And then apparently they got so much coverage there that what was it? I don't know. It's at some point in between the first and the second movies, the Anaheim Mighty Ducks became a pro hockey team. But the second movie is about how that core group of kids, at least, who play Pee Wee hockey, got to go to the Olympics for hockey.
Okay.
And to fill in the gaps, they pulled in like 5 kids from all over the country. Like there was a Asian figure skater, there was a Texas puck handler, there was a Chicago enforcer, and then from Maine was Julie the Cat Daphne, who was famous or whatever for her glove catching, like just being a quick reflex goalie. So I don't know. I'm not saying like adults should go check out this movie because she's cute. I'm saying that when I was younger, I thought she was really cute. And when a chick is wearing that many pads and is still gets your attention, it's cause-worthy. So like it's just something that stuck out from my head because the movies themselves are not super great, but they're really funny. They're enjoyable. Their kids getting into mischief. In hockey, if you like that. Actually, Charlie, as an Englishman, what is hockey to you?
Hockey for me is field hockey, i.e. played on grass and people bashing the living shit out of each other's shins. We do have ice hockey. In fact, my hometown team has an ice hockey team, which are one of the most successful in the country.
But is it a weird thing to you, or is it just... I mean, I guess you answered me. It's just another thing.
Ice hockey is actually brilliant. The first ice hockey game I ever went to was actually while I lived in Russia. I went to see Russia play Sweden, and it was one of the best sporting events I've ever been to. I absolutely fell in love with it. So I am a convert to ice hockey, and I think it's brilliant.
Sorry, it was just fun. I was gonna say, you're like, isn't that a Canadian sport? That's what I was expecting you to say.
Yeah, that's a Canadian sport, eh? No, sorry.
But I actually watched the third one and then the second one because I got the movies mixed up. That's how long it's been since I watched Mighty Ducks. And then on the nostalgia trip, that led me back into Family Guy. I caught up on season 10.
Okay, yeah.
That is a crazy that show has gone on so long.
I'm amazed. Got twice in it, Family Guy in the past.
Say again?
Family Guy's been cancelled at least once in its time.
Well, that's the thing is like Fox has this great habit of canceling good shows, and then if they're still popular, somebody else will pick them up. Family Guy got canceled by Fox after season 3. They make a big deal about it at the beginning of the season, if you watch the DVDs or Netflix. And then Cartoon Network bought them and brought it back because they were running Family Guy back to back with really good ratings. So that's how Family Guy got revived. No Greg the Bunny revival, though. No Firefly revival.
Still holding out for that.
Well, at this point, you can't even do like a season 2. You have to reboot the first season, or you could. Or I take that back. People will probably revolt a little bit, but you could do season 2, but you'd have to recast entirely. I was gonna say like just reproduce the first season with the new characters. Even do the comic arc as an extension to the first season. You could do the movie again with new people and all, of course, new production values. It'd be guaranteed money, and if they hadn't waited so long, they could have got Ryan Reynolds as Captain Mal, and that would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. Well, yeah, I don't know if he could go back for that now, would he?
I think he's just too old now. They just waited. But of course, I was telling you, yeah, Deadpool. He's still in mad shape. He still looks great. People like him.
I'm looking forward to seeing what may come of that because it does look good.
Yeah,
it looks like it has potential.
I'm super excited as well. And then the last thing, I got stuck on it because I didn't mention it. Other than watching Clerks that I watched this morning, since then I've been watching Big Bang series and I'm up to like season 3.
Okay.
Because up to that point, it's really good, and it's just good stuff to have on the background.
I keep getting YouTube adverts at the minute saying, "What? Yeah, buy the new series." I don't want to buy the new series.
Of what?
Of Big Bang.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to see where it goes to the end at this point, and then I'll be happy to see it die like How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
People keep trying to be friends, and it's disappointing.
It doesn't work, does it?
No, because like in How I Met Your Mother kind of did it, but they had a poor premise for it because they started with like, hey, we're all still in touch, and we didn't all go our separate ways. But that's how Friends ends, is that they kind of pair off and go their own ways. Phoebe and her guy do their thing. Chandler and Monica move away, and then Ross and Rachel move to France, I think. Oh, maybe they're the ones that stay.
Not sure.
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I can't throw 11 seasons of Friends on my to-watch list right now.
You'll be hit. I tell you what, start now and you might get there by next week's show.
You know what? I think when I had the time to do nothing, like when I was I had a summer, I think I did that, and I actually watched it all in a week. It may have been 2 weeks.
That was clear, a slow week.
Well, I wouldn't do anything back then. You know what I'd give to go back in time and make myself do some of the shit that I do now? Because I'd be so much farther ahead just having the knowledge of how to do something. Because I just don't have time now.
Also, to make another very tenuous WeAreMovieClub link, I was just on Netflix, sort of just flicking through, just seeing what was on there. And Space Pirate Captain Harlock's on there now.
On Netflix?
Yeah, well, Netflix UK at the very least.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, it's definitely had like a surgence in popularity for whatever reason, and good for it. It deserves it.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. It was a great movie. It had a lot of action. Very funny that like my mom was so into it. I don't understand. Okay, never mind. Twitter bothers me. Um, but Clerks. Have you seen Clerks before? This is actually a topical thing.
Nope.
Well, for screenplay, that's the one we've been talking about.
Okay.
But you're familiar with Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah, I've. The name certainly rings a bell. Let's
Okay,
just have a quick look.
so that's no. Because my question was going to be, how are you familiar with Kevin Smith? Because these days, a lot of people actually know him because he's a podcaster.
That's not how I know him.
But Clerks was a movie that is $28,000 of credit card debt that Smith accumulated. They bought the equipment, they shot it themselves, they produced it themselves. It was essentially YouTube before there was YouTube,
Okay.
but filmed as a movie. All like cheap black and white film. Like does not move the camera. Like literally just wrote like dialogue upon dialogue with scene changes, and called it a movie. But these days,
But it worked.
well, that's the thing is like a lot of people liked it because they thought it was going to be something else or a start of something else. And like, so if you go Bob Chipman stuff over on The Escapist about Kevin Smith, it explains all that better than I ever could. The short version is that him and all his movie buff guys back in the 80s thought it was going to be this prophecy of things to come and edgy black and white shit. And no, it was just he didn't have enough money. So he gained popularity on these relatively stupid movies, which I think they actually have a nice intellectual edge. But like his first 5 or 6 movies are very stupid-esque.
Okay.
They're about like regular people. Like Clerks is literally about a couple of clerks who work at a place called Quick Stop, which is just a convenience store, and Artist Video, which is like a homemade, or not a homemade, but a local Blockbuster.
Right.
Where people used to rent VHS tapes.
Oh god, now you're going back a few years. We haven't had Blockbuster over here for a few years now.
We don't have Blockbuster. Yeah, we haven't either. But so like it went from that to a couple guys hanging out in the mall for mall rats, and then Chasing Amy, which the short version of that movie is that guy tries to date a lesbian and then solve all the problems that result from that by suggesting him, her, and his best friend have a threesome.
Okay.
That's a shotgun version of that, but it works. Get out of my camera, stupid kitty. And then let's see, Dogma, which was technically a religious movie with a rubber poop monster in it.
Right.
And then Jane and Silent Bob Strikes Back, which finishes the saga. But you get more money when you put those guys in a movie. So like they show up in Clerks 2. I think they're technically in some of the other the Skewniverse movies, but those aren't funny.
Fair enough.
All right, and I think I've killed this topic enough.
Then I think you certainly. I certainly can't add anything to that because I don't know any of the films you've just mentioned in the last 5 minutes.
I'm just tired. But one thing that you definitely know something about. Did you watch anything besides this week's pick?
I caught up in full on Ruby, so I managed to get to the end, or to catch up to where they are now.
To where
So
they are now, or at the end of season 1?
No, to where they are now. I managed to watch this week's episode as it was released.
You are ahead of me. I've not watched the last couple because I wanted to build it up a little bit.
Sweet. No, I wanted to be able to catch up. That's why I'm actually considering actually just jumping into Red vs. Blue Season 11, because I want to just catch up with it. But that'll be very much time permitting.
Season 11's worth it if only for Season 12, because that's where it starts getting really good. Miles came up with some great characters for that, because without the freelancers so much in the mix, we've got to have someone else who's more interesting than the Blood Gulch crew.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil my change of scene this week by talking about that, but yeah.
But Season 10, right? That's what we're supposed to talk about?
Season 10, yeah.
That's the other reason I think I led into sadness, is because, like, I was actually tearing up, like, talking about it being over, because I'm like, Red versus Blue, you can't end.
My overarching opinion was that if they decided to end Red vs. Blue after the end of Season 10, that would have been more than fine.
Agreed.
The way 10 ended, I think, was, they could have just bowed it out there and said, right, we're retiring this now. And I think everybody would have been happy.
Well, and I think if Strangerhood had taken off, they would have.
I don't know what Strangerhood is.
Strangerhood was their Sims thing.
Right, okay.
The look on my face is the short version of that. Because it was
Says it all.
It was this weird thing, because they were using the Sims and they were animating them to do stuff, and it was like 7 strangers in a house, but people were dying, and then like they couldn't figure out what was happening. It was because they're in a video game world. Panics. I actually liked Panics. I wish they had done something more with that. Sorry, there's a video game called Fear. They did Panics, people acting normal in completely fucked up situations.
As you all do.
Yeah, so it's essentially like a SWAT team of investigators investigating this ghost, and it's their first real ghost. And the ghost starts killing and possessing them. But even Strangerhood was probably better than 1-800-MAGIC, which was in the Shadowrun. Go ahead.
That sounds terrible.
You know what? I actually liked the concept. It was in the Shadowrun universe, and it was people in like a street war dialing in for customer support on their weapons and stuff.
Okay.
So like they're in the middle of a firefight and they have to call in. You're like, my weapon's jammed. I don't know what to do. And at the same time, there was this thing with a sentient tree that was like teleporting people and giving them prophecies. But he pulled too many people, so it turned out like 2 of the people knew each other. Okay. So there's like, you told me I was the one.
Right.
But my point in bringing up these other series is that the one that was successful was Red vs. Blue. So why would you stop doing your successful series?
Well,
you had something else.
That's a very good point, but by the same token, everything has a shelf life.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, I might as well go ahead and spoil it anyway. Fuck it. The only fear that I had,
sorry,
or the only problem I think I ended up having with Season 10 was the fact that I know that series have carried on, but because of the way that 10 seemed to tie loose ends up, it's just like, well, now what are they going to do? And I was just worried that it would make 11 and 12 feel like almost like they've just bolted something onto the end of it because they've still got viewer numbers.
And I honestly think that's what it was. I think, because Bernie was done. Bernie had stopped writing after Season 10. And I think because they got Miles in, I think Miles took the initiative and was like, well, what are we doing with this? And Bernie's like, well, it's done. I'm not writing anymore. And Miles was like, well, I have some ideas. And they were like, okay. Well, we know it's got an audience, so why don't you take the reins?
Okay.
They mentioned it. I keep bringing up Rooster Teeth in general, but they mentioned it on the podcast. They have currently 50 different shows or things in production right now because of how they operate. So you got Red versus Blue, you got Ruby, you've got the podcasts, you've got all the different achievement hunter stuff. You've got all the stuff on the know. You've got personal projects that people are launching and using Rooster Teeth to do inside Rooster Teeth. I'm really interested to see what you say about Season 11 now that you talk about that. But I guess we should actually talk about Season 10 and me stop being depressed.
Let's actually talk about 10 because I think it was better than 9.
And I agree with you entirely. And I think what makes the difference is the implementation of the AI.
That, and I think that the whole jumping between storylines, I think it just felt better in 10. It felt like they actually did it better.
Well, because you're not dealing with a story inside a story like you were in 9, because in 9 they're in the Epsilon unit. So it's not what's actually happening, it's a side trip of what's happening in the Epsilon unit. So you're like, oh, none of this matters because it's in the Epsilon unit.
Yeah, I suppose, whereas in this one, the flashbacky bits almost seem a bit more relevant, don't they?
Yeah.
It's almost as though, we have the bit where Carolina gets her 2 AIs and it completely messes her about and the whole thing turns to rubbish, and then flash back to the present day and, okay, so this is why she's angry.
Yeah, and that it brings to light a lot of Carolina. It does. I gotta be honest. I wanted more. I felt robbed from time to time, even though it was so good. Agent Maine, I wanted to know more about him.
Yeah.
But it's just not there, and there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, you don't really get much about Maine, do you? You know that he's been injured in some way, but...
Well, no, we know because he got shot in the throat repeatedly.
Yes.
But even before that, he wasn't the most talkative fellow. And then the thing that Carolina opted out of the AI, that's a big deal, don't you think?
Especially for the thing to go opt back in, as it were.
Well, yeah, but my point is that Sigma was the ambition AI, which matches up with Carolina's personality, so there's not much of a difference. And then to give it to Maine, someone who, if we look at his ambitions, because I think as much as I wanted there to be a Carolina Maine storyline, romantically, I think Maine liked Carolina. I think that was there. There's certain parts, several of the fighting scenes especially, where Maine leaps to Carolina's rescue even though she's a more capable soldier. So there's almost a chivalry aspect.
Yeah, that's true. Although I think I may disagree with you slightly and say that maybe Sigma was the better one for Maine rather than Carolina for a slightly different reason.
Continue.
Insofar as you have Sigma being, well, in a slightly ironic phrasing, the mouthpiece of, Maine is the one that you for obvious reasons don't hear much of. So for Sigma to be one of the more sort of talking and, again, ambitious, but I don't know, it just seemed as though it was almost like Sigma was doing the whole sort of, I'm going to talk about sort of putting all of the AIs together and I'm going to sort of be a bit more rebellious with what I'm talking about, almost as a way of compensating for what Maine can't say, whether he's actually going to be saying anything along those lines or not.
And that was actually Carolina's point for giving Maine the AI in the first place, was that Maine couldn't speak, so Sigma would interpret.
No, I didn't actually remember that or know that, so that's quite fun.
Yeah, so that's what she said. But to me, I think that's the key in where the AI gained the upper hand, because Maine couldn't counteract Sigma vocally.
Mhm.
Because an ambitious AI, someone's got to keep them in check. Carolina would have kept Sigma in check.
You think?
I think so. But I don't know who else would have. Like South definitely wouldn't have.
Nope.
They would have been fighting all the time, but they wouldn't have kept each other in check.
No,
Um,
definitely not.
um, Washington. Think how different it would be if Washington had gotten Sigma.
Oh, that wouldn't have worked. I
He
don't think.
he might have actually gone dark and enjoyed it. I think.
I was about to say, which version of Washington do you think? Like the Series 910 version, or like maybe the Series 6 version? Because I felt they were quite different characters.
Of who?
Wash
Oh,
between Season
Washington.
6 and then 9 and 10.
Well, well, in 9 he's a goofy uh, guy because he's on the lower list on the leaderboard. But in 6 he's kind of a badass because everyone else sucks.
That's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I mean. So maybe if you gave Sigma to the Series 6 Wash rather than
Yes.
the 910 version.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is like we would have had season 6 with Washington as the meta,
Mm,
but he wouldn't have been controlled by Sigma. He just would have been working with Sigma.
yeah. Okay.
That
Fair enough.
that's what I think. If Sigma had gotten the upper hand with Washington, it would have been that he got him to agree to willingly help the meta situation
Hmm.
and get back to the alpha. Um, just think, it would have been worth seeing like a whole new reboot of this, like a what if, like, and then like swap up the AI, and then redo season 6. Because if Carolina had gotten Epsilon, and cause
Yeah.
she all but went insane, but then she would have had like data to back everything up.
Mm,
Um, but that's the other thing is like I wanted to see more about Carolina interacting with her AI, because she went into battle without even talking to him first, right?
yeah. Didn't really consider. Yeah, just went sort of jumped straight in, didn't she? When she had them put in.
Yeah, she woke up and was like, "Let's fight, bitches!" Like, God.
So they sent bitches.
Yeah. But and that was such a beautiful shot too. The camera panning in and with Carolina losing her mind and trying to pry her helmet off, which I don't know why. But the AI freaking out right next to her, all in sync.
Get out. Yeah.
Um,
But no, I think it was a very good series, and even the Blood Gulch characters did well, I thought.
See, and when I think about season 10, none of my thoughts go back to Blood Gulch or to Valhalla, honestly.
Yeah, which same difference.
Because they're just okay. They're looking for the director. They're looking for the director. They're looking for the director. Oh, they found him.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that I don't know if, and I'm going to steal one of your phrases here, but the MVP as far as that lot go, definitely Sarge for this one.
oh, you think? Support, please.
Well, that I I have a habit when I go back home, because it's a 2-hour train journey. I can pretty much put a film on and just sort of the train journey goes. So I watched 10 on the way back to London yesterday, and there was one moment where I laughed quite hard out loud and had quite a few people looking at me.
It was a Sarge moment.
Yeah, it was right near the start when I think they all kind of got put together. Like Carolina had sort of started first bossing them about, and Sarge makes the comment of, he's got a thing for women with sort of aggressive and
Oh,
bossy
yeah.
personalities, and then it's like you got some kind of fetish or something, and then it just goes silent, and then he just goes, "Want to talk about it?" And I'm just gone. I was crying. It was just the way that one line was delivered. I just couldn't.
See, and I would argue that that's not because of that one line. That line out of context is not great. But when you said the line, I totally got it because I'm thinking about it all the other fucking times they've said that.
It was just obviously in context, but yeah, it was just oh god. And then there was another one right near the end where they find that Donut's actually alive, and it's kind of see.
Oh, I should have made a scarecrow and put that one in the set for that BS. I didn't.
Yeah, it was just that one that it's like, suddenly there's another voice, and it's just basically, oh, for fuck's sake, no, is the loose interpretation of that. But it was just the whole Donut and Doc thing was good.
It's such a funny scene.
Which is weird because for a change they're pissing about actually fits in well because it's such a nice contrast to how serious Carolina's being.
Oh, definitely. And the one character that would actually be useful to her is Lopez. And he's a scarecrow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. See, and then my mind goes to all the freelancer stuff, though. All the great scenes there, like the beautiful fight scenes and like the smiley face, the drama and comedy team. You know what I'm talking about?
Roughly.
Well, like they're underground, right? And then I don't know what they're trying. I think they're chasing down CT. That's what it is.
Yes.
And then the machine gun twins show up. And then for whatever reason, Wyoming shows up with Florida.
Yeah, actually, that's one thing that did make I was a little bit confused over is the whole where Florida fitted into all this.
Well, see, that's like a joke inside a joke, because we've already mentioned a couple times that like Florida doesn't exist, and that there's 49 agents. So there is no Florida. Florida's never introduced all the way except to the very end. So he might have actually been a different state at the time. But he's like this random blue guy. He's real skinny. He doesn't look like the other agents. He takes that one axe and throws it, and it doesn't do anything. So you're like, is he another sim trooper? What's happening here? Because he's just kind of like, go ahead.
Before they made the reveal about, the Alpha essentially being put in as Florida, I thought, when they were saying it's got to be put somewhere where no one's going to suspect a thing and they're never going to find it, I thought they haven't made that caboose, have they?
Wait. What are you talking about? Alpha in Florida?
Right at the end of 10, when they're, when they're on about, destroying everything, shutting everything down, and when they're discussing where to hide the Alpha.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
sorry, I thought you were saying that Florida was the Alpha. I was like, no, what?
No. When they're saying that they need to hide it somewhere, with someone they can trust, and then I thought they're going to make a massive reveal that Caboose has got something to do with the Alpha, aren't they? But thankfully not, because that could have derailed the entire thing.
Well, that would have broken it, because Caboose doesn't show up until like a year later, after Flowers is there with Alpha and Tucker is already established. Florida. But I don't know. It's just there's so many nice fight scenes, and then the anti-grav fight scene with
that was good.
York and Carolina.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I did enjoy that one.
It was sad though. I wanted that to be the big scene. I wanted it to be longer. I wanted it to be in gravity, but that's the scene I wanted between Maine and Carolina. Carolina right before Maine loses it and like tosses her over the edge. That's where I wanted that, and it looks like they were set up for all this stuff, and they had to do like some Russian rewrites in places. I can't pick it out now, but if I was watching, I'd be like, okay, this looks weird. Because it just some of the changes are just very abrupt. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it because like there's that because it's a great romantic component and it humanizes Carolina where she actually really needs it.
I think Carolina was a very strong character that they did.
Wait a minute, whatever happened to Maine?
Maine's dead apparently.
Did he die in the ice at the end of season 8?
I'm on Wikipedia at the minute. I'm just trying to find out.
Oh, they hook the warthog to him and they throw the warthog over the edge. Remember?
Yes. I remember it now, yeah.
Griff, I'm gonna need my shotgun.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I remember now, yeah.
Shotgun, damn it! Next time we pick a code word, can we say something you don't say every 10 seconds?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's great. I don't know. But the big reveal, of course, and spoilers. Do we want to say that?
Yeah, fuck it.
Carolina, of course, is the daughter of Leonard Church and Allison. I guess technically Allison Church.
Whoa, I didn't know that. Oh well.
Yeah, who of course Tex is based on Allison. So that's why there's that huge competitive streak between. You get a little Freudian with this, but please don't. Between Tex and Carolina, because it's that mother-daughter competition for the director's affections.
Explain it in the favourite text though. That you meant actually mentioning that.
Well, and it explains why text is the best because Allison was the greatest woman the director Church ever knew. Though she had a tragic ending. And that's the whole thing with goodbyes. And I think if you remember, Carolina actually says something about her mother never liked to say goodbyes, and Tex actually says the same thing. I think in like an early season.
Yeah, I remember that bit.
Yeah, so there's some really nice foreshadowing and references going on with that. And then, of course, the director is a war criminal in all this. Because his project did not work out. He had some badass agents, but, I don't know how much alien fighting they ever actually did, you know?
Actually, there was one question I did have for you that you might be able to answer for me.
Sure.
Because when they do the flashbacky things, it'll give you the location of the freelance bit, and then just I beg your fucking pardon, and then it says many years ago, but it can't be that many years ago if they're all, because by many years ago I thought that meant that they'd all be dead, but I don't know. I was just trying to gauge how many years ago that might actually have been in relation to the fast forwarding of the events.
Well, here's the thing with the freelancers is that they're all supposedly humans. They just have really badass training and gear. So they age relatively normally. And so given the director and the age of Carolina, the relative age of Carolina, I would say probably about 10 years between the end of Season 10 Project Freelancer and Season 1. But
because I couldn't really gauge it.
No, I take that back. It's got to be a lot closer than that because it's about a year between when they first get to Blood Gulch. It's about a year or two, sorry, but when they first get to Blood Gulch, Florida and Alpha,
Hmm.
and Church has no idea that he's not human when he's there when we first meet him.
Yeah, he
Uh,
has no idea, does he?
yeah, so he's been there for about a year as a human. So Florida has to get there, get everything else structured, so that God. Sorry, I'm trying to piece this together live, and it's difficult. But he has to get there and get everything structured so that it's there. But that's after the meta happened, correct?
Yeah, because he gets it kind of revealed to him towards the end of 6, doesn't he?
Well, that's the thing though is um, the whole point of hiding the alpha is because they started to lose control of Project Freelancer because of the incident with the meta.
Hmm.
Carolina's gone. Maine's insane. So Project Freelancer shut down, and all the guys become independent. But there's this huge gap of discrepancy with Command calling freelancers, like as they call in techs, and Wyoming gets called in at some point. York's on the run for most of Blood Gulch. In Washington, who knows what he's stayed with Project Freelancer or whatever's left of the government um, up until season 6, right?
Yeah.
As part of Recovery 1. So has South.
Hmm. Yeah, if you're having trouble piecing it together, I've got no chance.
Yeah, I think I'd have to sit down with a dry erase board and like lay some shit out. I'll be honest, because
Yeah.
the time does not line up perfectly. But there's nothing to say that like there was 1 year for each season. Blood Gulch 1 through 5 could have been 1 year.
That's true, yeah.
So Tex gets farmed out for Project Freelancer. And then when does Wyoming show up though?
Wyoming show stupidly early, isn't he? In it at like season 3, very briefly.
Yeah, I was gonna say so somewhere around season 3. So Project Freelancer is still together by 3. And Gamma, there's that whole discrepancy with Gamma being existing in the past,
Mm.
and then teleporting Church forward in time. So I don't know how you explain away that, because time travel fucks everything up. Oh no, that's it. Gamma, okay. Gamma uses the technology in Wyoming's helmet, extrapolates it, and sends himself back to intercept the Alpha because at the director's behest.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Just about.
Barely, I'm gonna say. So there's that whole business with Wyoming and Tex. I guess technically that's a live training action, unless Wyoming's gone rogue at that point,
It's possible.
which he couldn't have unless when Wyoming shows up, Project Freelancer's already dead, because he's working with Doc at that point. So weird, yeah. So because Tex and Wyoming are free agents at that point, they're not part of Project Freelancer.
Oh god.
Yeah, they're freelancers, but they're not agents of Project Freelancer. Wow.
Mindfuck.
If I could get Bernie Burns in a room.
Yeah.
Oh, the things I'd do to him. No. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. But that's a really interesting point. Is the time discrepancies.
Mm. There's a can of worms that I've just opened for you.
Yeah, it's gonna haunt me. Fortunately, I've got things to distract me on that. I've got to work on those. Super Dungeon Explorer. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say on things in general today. So you want to go into what we're got coming up?
We got Pulp Fiction coming up.
Yeah, that's gonna be next week's because you hate me.
It's more the fact that I haven't seen it yet, and that I've got to this stage in life and having not seen it.
I'm gonna be super interested in your response to this one.
I tell you what, though, it's annoying because I've got some later starts at work coming up, so I was hoping that because some of the movies we've got coming up are quite short, so I was hoping to be able to watch one before going to work. Pulp Fiction's 2.5 hours. I haven't got a chance. That's going to have to be an evening film.
Yeah. I don't know. You just make sure you do it in one sitting. Don't try to come back to it.
Oh God, no! I don't do that.
Okay, well, occasionally you don't have a choice.
No, I struggled through Avatar for 3 hours, so it can't be a harder watch than Avatar was.
It's not as pretty as Avatar.
We'll soon see.
Yeah, I forgot to do my change of scene for that one, so I'll gotta go do that. And
then we have you coming back to actual real life films.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week, I'm sure.
About that in more detail, yeah.
But any personal channel work or projects you're going on with?
No, just keeping it with what I'm doing,
And that's just gonna be another week though. So what are you gonna do with your time once you get out of that?
Back to university for another year. Yeah.
Boo.
Keep me going. Take up all of my money.
What was I gonna say? Yeah. So I've got to start playing with green screen stuff. I got to test some feasibility for some things, but I've got a project that I actually want to use
green screen
with, and it's a little bit different than you probably think.
That could be interesting.
I'm gonna be able to mix some green screen with some machinima stuff, and hopefully, if it turns out anything close to what I have in my head, it'll be worth it, and it'll be good.
Yeah, that should be alright then. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
All right, so I gotta go film that thing. So no, you're gonna take us out next week. That's right. We're gonna start doing that better.
Okie doke.
So go ahead and sign off, and then I'll take us out.
Okay, well, I'll just flick onto me so I can actually see what I'm doing. So thank you for watching, everyone. I know it's been a short one this week, but fuck it. If you want to get in contact with me, then my links are all here. If I can point to it properly. You can find me on YouTube at Snowdog140. You can find me at Gaming Division and WeAreMovieClub as well. Up here you have my Twitter at TheCharlieM or at WeAreMovieClub. I will carry on using that because I did tweet out about films every now and again on there, so I'll get back to that. But yeah, that's all really. That's me. I will be going back to being a student very soon, so I'll be able to call myself one of those again. But yeah, thanks for sticking around if you've got this far.
Alright, and I am Kamurai. I always fuck that up. This is me. This is where you can see me do stuff. It's thoughts and vlogging stuff, and then movie stuff is Jam on Toast. And then, of course, We Are Movie Club, where Charlie and I both kind of run our own little shows on here. You can yell at us up here on the Twitters. Let us know if you want to get involved or whatnot. Or yell at me at Kamurai25. Tell me how cute this cat is. I love you, Wee Black. But that's it for us. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.